All right, my name is Victor, and I'm from Seattle. Well, I'm original from Mexico City, but I live in Seattle, beautiful Pacific Northwest. Um, I work at the Seattle Starbucks Creative Studio, and I'm a senior designer in the coffee packaging department. And what we do, like Christine said, we're in charge of doing coffee packaging. We do coffee bags, we do ready to drink, anything that you see in the stores. And we're part of a bigger group, the Creative Studio, and what we do is promotions, cards, basically anything that you see out of Starbucks we create. It's created in-house for the whole world. Starbucks is a coffee shop in Seattle, for those who you don't know. And today I'm going to talk about Handcrafted. I grew up in Mexico City, but my family and me, we were fortunate enough to travel around Mexico. And one of the things that I always was passionate about and very intrigued by was the handcrafts that were in every single town. Every state, every city, every single small town has this, like, just people making stuff, whether it's masks, costumes, dances. And most of the time, everything is done by hand. And I'm gonna just tell you how that influenced me later on in my career. I was also influenced by Mexican wrestling. Growing up, I think these were my heroes, but a lot of my peers, people my age around Mexico, they're going to tell you that we're influenced by Mexican wrestling. And how could you not? I mean, you see movies when they're battling Martians, they're battling like vampires, battling each other, and that's me. And also, by the way, these movies, they weren't great. They're like, Ed Wood is like Francis Ford Coppola or something. These were really bad movies. I've watched them again now as an adult, and they're awful. Anyways, moving on to Handcraft. Handcraft, as you know, it's made by hand. And Christine mentioned something that is really interesting. That doesn't mean that you have to do everything with your hands. I mean, you're doing it yourself, but you can also use the tools that are available to you. And more so, now that technology is finally starting to catching up to, like, you're able to do things that feel like they were actually created with pencil and brushes and stuff. And I'm going to show you a little bit examples of this. So Handcrafted, especially in my world, which is coffee, we create handcrafted beverages. And there's a lot of thought that goes into that. I mean, everything before, when you plant the bean, when it grows, you got water and stuff. But at the end, the way each beverage is made is by hand, and you have to watch for the right grind, the right temperature of the water, the way you pour the milk, and the way you create it with your hands, and it's a beverage especially made for you. And so how that applies to branding and what I do is this. So this is a little example of some of the stuff that we create in the studio. And when we say handcrafted, that doesn't mean, again, that is everything painted and everything is like sketched by hand. We also do vector, and we do drawings, we do paintings, illustrations, but everything is curated and handcrafted. So I'm going to show you a few examples of the work that I've done and how handcraft played in the process. Anniversary Blend is coffee packaging, coffee blend that it was created as a celebration of the anniversary of Starbucks. So every year it comes back in a different. We use the same illustration or the same elements, and we adapted to create a whole new packaging. And for the anniversary of Anniversary Blend, I was given the task to give a redesign or a new life. So what I did is start with sketches. These are just quick comps of composition, where the illustration is going to go, type, just kind of arranging composition. And then to the left is a little study that I did in my sketchbook of line work. Then after the quick thumbnails, I go into a more detailed sketch where I try to play out with type in illustration. And you see at the bottom, they're a little more elaborate. And so I go refining every step as I go. And these are kind of like the final compositions that I was happy with. I wanted to experiment a little bit with type, but you have to be careful of the different markets that you go in. So sometimes the type has to be super readable. You can't really experiment with like a lot of crazy type. So after that, I said, I'm going to redraw this iron. So I went ahead and started sketching, do the line work, and then I painted with watercolor. And I did everything separate because I knew that I was going to put it together all in the computer. I wanted to change colors. I wanted to change textures. So I wanted to have that ability of to change every part. So this is a little bit of the background that I did for the packaging. I watched a YouTube video on how to do watercolor with salt and stuff. And this is the final. This was 2015, 16, and it turned out all right. And no clap. Yeah, this is a little bit of detail. And this is the new one that I just did, that just came out this year. And again, I redrew this iron. But I always try to keep it a little more, almost like a lino cut. It can't be too real because then it looks weird. And I did this one on the computer too, like a sketch. Now the fall promotion. This is another example of how experimentation works. I recently tried to do hand lettering, and it was a big mistake. I'm no good. But I had already bought the tools, the little nibs and stuff, and I mean you can see the mistakes. So, like the paint it's very hard to control, at least for me. So the promo team said, hey, why don't you help us out, do some illustrations about fall? So I went ahead and used the nib and created some of these. And when you use this with a watercolor paper, it creates some like really, really cool textures. So I gave it to the promo team, and they came up with like super cool colored illustrations. They put foil in it, and they create banners. This is a huge banner just around the corner from work. And a couple of banners, and you see how they adapted the line drawings that I did into like a real illustration. And then based on that, we created the fall cups. And these cups, I think they were the first time that we actually did a fall cup. And they were super successful. I mean, people were really into it. These are some of the examples of people interacting with. That's crazy, right? And that's when, when it's something that's successful or connects with people, when people are interacting with it and they have fun with it. I mean, look at that, more nails. I didn't know this is a thing with people showing their nails. But, and then to the left, people reuse the cups, they make cards, they color them, and I don't know. Overall, it was very successful, and people liked it. Now, this is another example. As you can tell from my beautiful accent, I'm from Mexico, and whenever not beautiful accent, it was more annoying, but Chiapas is so close to my heart because I've been there, and every time I go to Mexico, I try to go there because it's amazing. So every time a project from Mexico comes around the studio, I'll say, I'll do it. So I started as an intern at Starbucks like so long ago, like 10 years ago. Actually, one of my first managers is over here. Scary. Steve. So when I was an intern, that's one of the fun parts about working at Starbucks, that when you're an intern, you actually get to work in real projects, and you get to see your project like go into real stores, and you see people holding it, and it's amazing. My mom has like an urn of old ass coffee in her house. Like, it's ridiculous. But anyway, so this is the first Chiapas bag that I did. This is the second one. Later on, you see how the style changed. I went to vector. I'm awful with the vectors, but I did it. So for this one, we wanted to redesign it, and so again, I went to sketch mode and start playing with type. Usually when we get briefed about a bag, I start sketching right away as we're reading the brief. Some hand-done type, some ink drawings, some more sketches, ink, and this is the final bag. And that one, it's all over Mexico now. I think they served it here in the US for a little bit. Some type. And I'm going to show you some more work. This is one of my most recent projects. I created the single origin lineup along with my coworkers. And I was inspired by lino cuts. I do a lot of lino cuts in my spare time. So I want to show that in a coffee bag. And this is the whole lineup so far right now. And these were all done by different designers in the studio, but we have like a similar, we try to create a system that look familiar, but it pops out in the store. This is another project that I recently did for Mexico. It's for the 15th anniversary. And I was inspired by some of the old embroidered dresses that I saw growing up. My grandma's from Oaxaca, so they have some beautiful dresses over there, and I was inspired by it. A Mexico card. And now I'll get to show you other work. This is a beer can that I did last year or 2 years ago, and it was a Mexican lager, so of course I had to do it. And here's the little sketch that I did. So for this one, I started again in pencil, but all the line work was done in the computer. Some lettering. And this is I love doing poster work, screen printed poster work. These are examples of 2 different posters that I did for a collective called Art Crank. When they go around cities and they contact designers and they produce posters. They sell the posters and they donate the money to local charities related to bicycles. And one was done with actually inking on paper, and the other one was done in the computer. So at this point, I'm trying to adapt to the new technology and being able to reproduce the work that I do analog. So the one on the left was done on the computer, Philadelphia Airport. The other one was done on my house. And this is some, excuse me, some of my most kind of recent work. I really like doing illustration in my free time. I do a lot of freelance. My wife says too much, but I really enjoy doing it. I feel like if I'm not doing something when I'm watching TV, I'm wasting my time. But the one on the far right, it's an illustration for a local restaurant, Mexican restaurant. I do everything Mexican, I guess. The one in the middle is an illustration for a band in Mexico, my uncle. He plays son jarocho. And the one on the left is a cover for a magazine. Like I said, I like doing a lot of poster work. These are screen printed. Some of my favorite bands, Café Tacuba from Mexico, Porter, yeah, Big Grams, Sasquatch Festival. I've been doing posters for Sasquatch for a long time, ever since I was in school. Some more poster work. You have any gig posters? If you need some, let me know. I'm your guy. And this one, I was so excited about doing this one. This one's part of a project called Has Heart, where they tour around the country and they pair designers with veterans. And the veteran tells the story to the designer, and together in a couple of days they come up with a design. So they create t-shirts, posters, postcards, and they sell them, and the proceeds go to the veteran or a charity of his that they want. And I was fortunate enough to be contacted by Has Heart, and I spent a couple of days with a veteran called Monique Brown, and told me a story, and we came up with this design, and now they're selling it online and at Starbucks restaurant in Seattle. So I was able to work that. This is another poster work that I did for REI. I love doing monsters, and so when they told me that they wanted to do a promo around monsters, I was, yes. I love REI too. And with that, I've been, ever since I got the iPad, I've been doing like a lot of like one day, or like a couple of hours type and illustration, and I really enjoy it. So whenever there's like a current event, like I did this one when, this is Howard Schultz. He used to be the CEO of Starbucks, and when he retired, stepped down, I did this one. So it's a really helpful tool when, since you don't have time to sketch or scan and refine on the computer, you just go directly on the iPad, and it works for me. So these are my current events sketches. This is what I call. Remember that guy? I had some other slides, but I said I'm not going to get too political in here, so I'm not going to put it on. So here's another one that I did for this one. And this is my PSA. Every time there's a National Taco Day, and I see a bunch of friends like posting tacos with hard shell. I never had a hard shell taco until I was like 22 years old. Till I came to the States. I'm like, what is this? They're good, but they're not tacos. Unless you're high. That's the best food for that. And I'm from Seattle. Anyways, that's it, guys.
I used to work in magazine publishing, and my editors would always tell me, like, any color but green, because for some reason, like, green blends into, I guess, in the magazine stand. And are there any rules for storefronts, like with packaging? Are you like, we never use this color, or, you know, like secret rules, like type can only be this small, or I don't know. Are there any rules like that?
Not really.
No?
I mean,
I'll hold, like, you're free to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people tell us that the stores are a little too dark, and like that's why one of the reasons why with the single origin project that I show you, like we try to go like super bold colors, and it worked. I mean, that coffee sold out super quick, and it was good.
Nice.
But not a set of rules. 3, 4, 2, 5, Starbucks green.
Oh, okay. Is that the Pantone? And you did mention that within your office you have like a setup that looks like a store, and like how long do you test a product? Do you ask everyone in the office like, hey, check out our store and see like
Well, it depends on, we test out whole promos in there. But in my world, which is coffee packaging, we have a big timeline because we have to print in like different substrates, so our timelines are super big, which is good because you get to experiment with a lot of I don't know, different types of illustration. But we do test the whole promo along with the packaging, along with the card. Everything is set up in like a real store, but it's not real, downstairs in a second floor. And we get like, I don't know, VPs and big kahunas come and check it out and say, oh yeah, it looks good.
Nice.
But yeah.
Thanks, Victor. That was amazing.